Hello, gentlemen. Such a nice, warm, unseasonably warm autumn day today. Today, I thought I would wrap up the series, the myth of the non-protection of the Negro female in America. Now, this is the last video of this series, and in this video, we will explore the period from the 80s up to the present day. Now, where we left off in the penultimate video of this series, we were at the point in time when black women were starting to buy into the Great Society program, and they were starting to buy into feminism, which was of course CIA aided. Information was divulged recently that Gloria Steinem, one of the most ardent feminists, was indeed a CIA operative. And like I said, this twofold attack of feminism and the Great Society program was, government entitlements and feminism combined, was targeted at the nuclear family of all races. But as always, the black race is the canary in the coal mine here in America, in American society. And the goals of this, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, was twofold. It was to, of course, destabilize the Negro, and it was to, of course, to lower the birth rate of white Americans. And mission accomplished on both parts. Mission accomplished on both parts. In the period from the 80s to the present day is when we developed this attitude of deep recalcitrance that would just basically render any thought. This was the kill shot. This is what basically ended any hopes of ever recovering the so-called black community, because what a lot of people who will sit down and dialogue about solutions and everything else, and about the existence of a community that really doesn't exist, one thing that seems to escape them is that to have any type of community or any type of nation even, you first have to have a stable nuclear family. If you don't have that, you really don't have a community. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your investments are, your real estate holdings, etc., etc. Without the nuclear family, it's nothing, because there will be no continuity, because there will be no one to consolidate what you've gained. There will be no one to conduct all of your knowledge to, and there will be no one to inherit and to continue your legacy. So, in a nutshell, once the nuclear family is gone, it is a proverbial wrap. So in this was the era when crack was introduced. I was there for that. To when crack first hit the streets, I was kind of young. I think I was about maybe 8 or 10 years old when crack first hit the streets, and I saw many people suffer because of it. Some family members suffer because of it. I saw many younger people that I knew that were younger than me be born with health problems as a result of being crack babies. So I saw the ramifications of this, and I even, for a short time, helped facilitate the sale of it. I didn't directly sell crack, but I told you what I did before. But in this era, this was the death blow to the black nuclear family, most likely once and for all, here in North America. Because in this era is now that the physical attack had been successfully completed, the attack of the Great Society program and the dictate that you had to remove these men from the home, that was the physical removal. And the feminism was the beginning of the mental removal. But then with the changing of the media attack, and including feminism in the era of the 80s up to the present day, this is what basically brought out what some people say, oh, well, this is what spiritually changed black women, this era. But I have a theory that it only brought out what was latent in the vast majority of black women, what had been latent since the early days of chattel slavery. In this era, there was a mass proliferation of daytime talk shows that only featured the most denigrating stereotypes about black men and the most denigrating diatribes and anecdotes that they would have to tell, much false information, much negative propaganda. And not only on the daytime talk shows, but you also had a proliferation of many sitcoms that also accomplished the same goal. I remember when 227 first came out and they had all of the head wagging and finger wagging and everything. And I remember my grandmother seeing that, and she said, you know, all of those bitches on that show need the shit slapped out of her. Look how they talk to those men. That was the first thing I remember my grandmother saying. I'm like, wow. But yeah. So the mass proliferation of shows like that put the perception out there that this was Black America. This was how Black America went. And as they say that art imitates life, but I think now with the way mass media is and the way television is, reality shows and everything, how it makes like a media matrix, I think it's actually starting to be kind of the other way around. I think actually life is starting to imitate what's being seen on the so-called idiot box. So they put this proliferation of daytime talk shows, all this proliferation of commercials in which black men were scapegoated and ridiculed and they're made to look less than, and these sitcoms where the same thing happened is what basically loosed what had been latent, by my estimation, in black women since the early days of chattel slavery. And you couple this with the expansion of domestic violence laws, and in which once again the black man is the canary in the coal mine. Now, I'm going to say this about domestic violence laws. Every man in America is only one phone. If he's with a woman, if he has any type of association with a woman, be it a fuck buddy, friends with benefits, girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever. If a man or even brother and sister, if a man has any type of close association with a woman, he is only one phone call away from jail. All it takes is an accusation and he is gone. And the black race being the canary in the coal mine, this also helped, was a death blow for the black nuclear family, because now you have the Great Society program. Now you have feminism to make women feel superior, but at the same time victimized. Now you have this the media entitlement era of the late 70s and early 80s, in which these women are made to feel even more emotional, even more hateful towards themselves, and even more insecure, which basically makes them a ticking time bomb emotionally. Then you have the coat of recalcitrance being peddled on daytime TV and evening talk shows. So you have a mixture in which you have just the right circumstances for someone who is going to just arbitrarily call the police on you only for asserting your authority as a man in the household, not for beating, not for damaging property, but merely for putting your foot down, verbally, financially or whatever. If you do something that they don't like, you're out of there. And so you can't have a stable nuclear family if you have a father that's walking on eggshells. You can't have a stable nuclear family if every time there's a spat between the two adults in the household, somebody goes to jail, the police gets there. There's no way you can have a nuclear family like that. So with the the attitude of recalcitrance being widely promoted on TV, but at the same time a victim mentality that was pushed by the liberal Democrats, one has to ask, where does this myth of non-protection come from when someone actually makes a fertile atmosphere for you to do whatever you want, for you to feel entitled to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, have any type of attitude with anybody? Where does this myth of non-protection come from? And also, from the 80s up to the present day, baby Moses laws were introduced in which a woman could go to a police facility, a fire facility, a hospital, and leave an infant baby there without recourse, without being charged with child neglect, without being charged with child endangerment, without being shunned, no questions asked. So again, and this isn't just for black women, but I've heard from many police officers that black women are the ones who take advantage of these baby Moses laws the most. But again, where does this myth of non-protection come from? With the wide expansion of the so-called battered women's shelters and with the expansion of domestic violence laws in which little or no evidence is needed, with you know, some states having what they call cool down doctrines in which someone has to, the man most namely has to stay away for 72 hours. Where does this myth of non-protection come from? And in this era, as a reactionary move to all of the negative propaganda that was put out there about black men, some black men, instead of just quote unquote going their own way or ignoring the bullshit, started to be mentally affected by the propaganda, and they started to make an environment in which these women were never questioned. This is the era that the so-called sensitive male was born in the late 70s. Well, not born, but you know, those men who were coming onto the sexual marketplace, who were most likely born in the late 50s or early 60s, and they were just or the early 70s, that were starting to come onto the sexual marketplace or have been on the sexual marketplace for a few years. This is the era of the sensitive male, and with this new version of malehood, these men sought to pander to women. These men sought to subscribe to the victim mentality, but at the same time an air of superiority for women. These men bought into all of this, and this is probably from this period up to the present day, even more so than the Victorian period of this country's history, is probably the most simpish period of this country's history. Men started to even dress feminine in this era. You had many black men attempting to dress like Prince. This is why I don't understand when you have a lot of these baby boomer age males that want to criticize some of these younger guys for wearing really skinny jeans and pencil jeans, whatever the hell they call them, that they want to talk shit, because it's like, dude, you had on some yellow spandex pants and a damn green top with lips all over it. You was trying to dress like Prince, so get the fuck out of here, but I digress. So this is the era in which a softer, more feminized version of manhood came into vogue. So once again, where does this myth of non-protection come from? Also in this era, the housing voucher programs, the Section 8s, were greatly expanded. And with the Section 8 program, you know, I think it goes that for every child that you have, they're supposed to have a room. I think that's how it goes. I actually knew a woman that had 6 kids by 4 different men, and this was the cousin of one of my friends. He didn't like her and I didn't like her, but she came around to visit his mother, so that's how I ended up even seeing her or associating with her. But this woman had 6 children. So she waited for years for a Section 8 voucher.